I'm Anastasia, a 28-year-old interior designer from Seattle. For as long as I can remember, my birthday has been an exercise in disappointment. While my younger sister Jasmine gets lavish parties every year, mine passes without so much as a text message. This year marked the fifth consecutive birthday my family forgot, but I decided things would end differently. I'd been quietly saving for years, and finally found the perfect way to make myself impossible to ignore. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to see how I finally made myself impossible to ignore. Trust me, they never saw this coming. Growing up in the suburbs of Seattle, our family looked picture perfect from the outside. My father, a successful surgeon at Northwest Medical, commanded respect in both our community and our home. My mother, a former beauty pageant contestant turned real estate agent, maintained our social calendar and image with military precision. And then there was Jasmine, my sister, 2 years younger, but somehow always the center of attention. From my earliest memories, the pattern was clear. Jasmine would ask for something, a new toy, special lessons later curfew, and receive it almost immediately. When I made the same requests, there were always reasons why it wasn't possible. Money was tight that month, the schedule was too full, or simply, maybe next time, Anastasia. I learned quickly that maybe next time meant no, but we don't want to say it directly. The first birthday I remember being completely overlooked was my 8th. I'd been dropping hints for weeks about a science kit. I wanted nothing extravagant, just a basic microscope and slide set I'd seen at the educational store. On the morning of my birthday, I bounded downstairs, expecting at least acknowledgement, maybe even that science kit, if I was lucky. Instead, I found my parents huddled at the kitchen counter, reviewing catering menus for Jasmine's upcoming dance recital after party. When I tentatively mentioned it was my birthday, my mother's eyes widened momentarily. "Oh, happy birthday, sweetie," she said, before immediately returning to the menu discussion. My father ruffled my hair and slid a $20 bill across the counter, without looking up from his coffee and newspaper. "Get yourself something nice," he murmured. 2 months later, Jasmine's 6th birthday featured a professional children's party planner. A custom princess cake that cost more than my entire year's allowance in presents that filled half our living room. I remember sitting in the corner during her party watching guests arrive, with elaborately wrapped gifts, wondering what made her birthdays worth remembering while mine weren't. As teenagers, the pattern became even more pronounced. My 16th birthday, traditionally a milestone, passed with just a card containing $50. Jasmine's Sweet 16, however, involved renting out a local event space, hiring a DJ, and gifting her a used but still expensive convertible with a giant red bow. I told myself there were logical explanations. Perhaps they simply remembered Jasmine's birth more vividly as she was their last child. Maybe my more reserved personality made them think I didn't want or need celebration. I became adept at creating excuses for their behavior, protecting myself from the more painful conclusion that they simply cared less about me. While Jasmine thrived on being the golden child, I carved out my own path. I maintained perfect grades, secured academic scholarships, and built a reputation as the responsible daughter. I graduated top of my class in high school and earned a full scholarship to the University of Washington's prestigious design program. None of these achievements generated the excitement my parents showed when Jasmine made the cheerleading squad or dated the quarterback. When I landed the dean's list semester after semester, it was met with polite acknowledgement. When Jasmine managed to pass her classes while maintaining her vibrant social life, my parents treated it like she'd won a Nobel Prize. After college, I secured a position at one of Seattle's up-and-coming interior design firms. My methodical nature served me well professionally, and I quickly advanced from junior designer to managing my own clients. I lived frugally in a small but stylish apartment, investing most of my income and saving aggressively. Financial independence became my security blanket. While Jasmine continued living at home rent-free well into her 20s, working part-time at boutiques between extended finding herself phases, I built a life completely self-sufficient from my family. My parents subsidized Jasmine's lifestyle while expecting me to stand on my own. Another double standard that stung but also pushed me to succeed. By 28, I had an impressive savings account, investment portfolio, and growing client list. What I didn't have was a family that remembered my birthday. Each year, I try to lower my expectations, but some childish part of me always hoped this year would be different. It never was. With my birthday approaching again, I found myself watching the family group chat with a familiar mixture of hope and preemptive disappointment. Deep down, I knew what was coming, or rather, what wasn't coming. The morning of my 28th birthday dawned with my phone screen conspicuously blank. No texts, no calls, no social media notifications from family members. The familiar hollow feeling settled in my chest as I went through my morning routine. I'd long ago stopped expecting surprise parties or elaborate gifts, but the complete absence of even a simple happy birthday text still had the power to hurt. I dressed carefully in my favorite navy blue dress and pearl earrings, determined not to let my family's neglect ruin my day. The reflection in the mirror showed a composed professional woman, not the forgotten daughter I felt like inside. I applied an extra touch of lipstick armor against disappointment. At Blue Sky Design Studio where I worked, my colleagues had remembered. A small arrangement of fresh flowers sat on my desk alongside a card signed by everyone in the office. My boss Diana stopped by my workspace, coffee in hand. "Happy birthday, Anastasia. 28 looks good on you," she said, placing the latte on my desk. The Jensen project presentation went brilliantly yesterday. The clients called this morning specifically praising your living room concepts. I smiled, genuinely grateful for the recognition in at least one part of my life. "Thanks, Diana. That means a lot." Around noon, my phone buzzed. For one hopeful moment, I thought perhaps my family had remembered after all. Instead, it was a group text from my mother to the entire family, starting to plan Jasmine's 26th next month, thinking about booking the waterfront room at Harborside. They have that amazing chef Jasmine loves from the food festival. Guest list around 50-60. Harold, can you call James about the live music? And Anastasia, we're thinking of pooling for a weekend spa retreat gift. Can you contribute $300? I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. The irony was almost laughable. Not only had they forgotten my birthday again, but they were actively planning an extravagant celebration for Jasmine and asking me to help fund it. On my birthday, I set the phone down without responding and threw myself into work, using client demands as a welcome distraction from the hurt crystallizing in my chest. That evening, I picked up takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant, a small birthday gift to myself, and returned to my empty apartment. I arranged the food on a proper plate rather than eating from containers, poured a glass of wine, and lit a candle. If no one else would celebrate me, I would at least honor myself. After dinner, curiosity and masochism led me to social media. My mother had posted 3 times that day a throwback Thursday picture of Jasmine's high school graduation, a photo of her new designer purse, and a lengthy post about planning the perfect celebration for our perfect girl. My father had shared an article about golf. Jasmine had posted a series of selfies from a spa day with friends. Not one mention of me or my birthday. It was as if I simply didn't register in their universe. My phone rang, displaying Taylor's name. My best friend since college, Taylor was the closest thing to family I had these days. "Happy birthday, girl. Please tell me you're not working late again." I smiled despite myself. "Just finished dinner, actually." "Alone, Anastasia, we talked about this. You should have let me take you out." "You're in Portland for that conference. It's fine, really." Taylor's sigh carried clearly through the speaker. "Let me guess. The infamous Thomas family forgot again." "Got it in one," I replied, trying to keep my voice light. "Mom sent a group text today about planning Jasmine's birthday next month. Asked me to chip in $300 for her gift." "You have got to be kidding me," Taylor growled. "That's beyond forgetful, that's just cruel." Have you ever considered that maybe it's not forgetting? That maybe it's intentional? I'd considered it, of course. In my darkest moments, the thought had crossed my mind. But accepting that meant accepting my family actively chose to hurt me year after year. I don't know, Taylor. That seems so deliberately mean. They're oblivious, sure, but would they really do that on purpose? Intentional or not, it's a pattern and it's hurting you. When are you going to confront them about it? I sighed, swirling the wine in my glass. What would that accomplish? They'd get defensive. Jasmine would somehow become the victim in the situation, and I'd be the ungrateful daughter making a fuss over something as trivial as a birthday. It's not trivial, Anastasia. It's symbolic of how they treat you versus your sister, and you keep accepting it. I knew Taylor was right. My silence was implicit permission for their behavior to continue. Yet the thought of confrontation made my stomach turn. I'd spent my life being the easy child, the one who didn't make waves. I'll think about it, I promised, knowing I probably wouldn't. After hanging up, I scrolled mindlessly through my phone, trying to distract myself. A notification popped up, a Venmo payment from my father to Jasmine for $2,000 with the memo, "Pre-birthday shopping spree. Have fun, princess." Something inside me broke. $2,000, just handed over casually while I got nothing. Not even acknowledgement of my existence. I set down my phone and walked to the window, looking out at Seattle's twinkling lights through a blur of tears. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of the hurt, the years of being overlooked, forgotten, deemed less important. I didn't just cry. I sobbed deep, body-shaking sobs that released decades of suppressed pain. When the storm finally passed, I felt different. Empty, but also lighter somehow. And somewhere in that emotional purge, a clarity emerged. I couldn't change my family. I couldn't make them value me equally or remember my birthday or see me as they saw Jasmine. But I could change how I responded to their treatment. I could stop waiting for validation that would never come. And perhaps most importantly, I could show them and myself exactly what they had been overlooking all these years. I wiped my face, straightened my shoulders, and made a decision. This was the last birthday I would spend waiting for scraps of attention from people who couldn't be bothered to mark their calendar. Next year would be different. I would make sure of it. The morning after my birthday, I called in a personal day from work for the first time in 3 years. Diana was surprised, but immediately supportive. "Of course, Anastasia. You've banked so much overtime you could take a month off if you wanted." I spent the morning at my kitchen table with a cup of strong coffee and my laptop, reviewing my financial situation. 6 years of aggressive saving and careful investing had built an impressive nest egg. I had initially planned to use it for a down payment on a condo in Seattle someday, but the real estate prices in the city had skyrocketed beyond what even my savings could reasonably cover. Almost idly, I expanded my property search to include neighboring communities, then coastal towns within driving distance of Seattle. It started as a distraction, a way to channel my hurt into something productive. But as listing after listing appeared on my screen, the abstract idea of someday began to crystallize into, what about now? 3 hours into my search, a property caught my eye. A small but well-maintained beach house in a quiet coastal community called Seabreeze Cove, about 3 hours from Seattle. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath with a covered porch facing the water. The listing photos showed weathered blue shingles, white trim, and windows that caught the sunset. At $285,000, it was significantly less expensive than anything in Seattle proper. I clicked through the virtual tour, my heartbeat quickening with each room revealed. The living area had a stone fireplace and built-in bookshelves. The kitchen was outdated but functional, with potential for simple upgrades. The main bedroom had French doors opening to the porch and a glimpse of water beyond. The second bedroom was small but bright, perfect for a home office. Before I could talk myself out of it, I called the listing agent, a woman named Margaret. "I'd like to view the property this weekend if possible," I said, surprising myself with the decisiveness in my voice. Certainly I should mention we've had significant interest. The seller is motivated due to a job relocation, so they're looking for a quick close. "I understand. I'll be there Saturday morning." The rest of the week passed in a blur of anticipation. I researched mortgage options, property taxes in the area, and what to look for during viewings. By Friday evening, I had pre-approval from my bank and a folder of questions for Margaret. The drive to Seabreeze Cove on Saturday morning felt symbolic somehow. Each mile that took me away from Seattle seemed to create space between me and my family's indifference. The closer I got to the coast, the lighter I felt. The town itself was exactly what you'd expect from a Pacific Northwest coastal community, a main street with locally owned shops, fishing boats in the small harbor, and houses perched on hills overlooking the water. It was touristy in spots, but retained an authentic working town character. Margaret was waiting at the beach house, a friendly woman in her 50s with practical shoes and a no-nonsense handshake. "You picked a gorgeous day to view," she said, gesturing toward the clear blue sky and sparkling water visible from the driveway. These are rare on the Washington coast. Walking through the front door felt strangely like coming home. The house wasn't perfect. The carpets needed replacing, the kitchen cabinets were dated, and the bathroom needed a complete overhaul, but the bones were solid. High ceilings with exposed beams, good natural light. And that view. Standing on the porch looking out at the water, I could picture myself here. Morning coffee watching the fog lift. Evenings with a book and glass of wine as the sun set. Weekends exploring the beach and surrounding woods. A life built around what I wanted, not what others expected of me. "What do you think?" Margaret asked after giving me time to absorb everything. "I'm interested," I said, surprising myself with how confident I sounded. "Very interested." We sat at the kitchen table and went through the disclosure documents. The house had been well maintained over the years with a new roof 5 years ago, and updated electrical. The septic system was functioning properly, and the well water was clean. The only significant issue was cosmetic updates needed throughout. "For someone with your design background, this place is a canvas," Margaret observed. "You remembered I'm an interior designer." She smiled. "I looked you up after our call. Blue Sky Design has a great reputation. You could transform this place." Back in Seattle that evening, I ran the numbers again. With my savings and excellent credit score, I could make a substantial down payment and keep the mortgage payments manageable. I'd still have emergency funds left over, and could tackle renovations gradually. On Monday, I contacted my bank to formally begin the mortgage application process. By Wednesday, I had official pre-approval. Thursday evening, I called Margaret and made an offer slightly below asking price. Friday afternoon, my phone rang while I was in a client meeting. Stepping out to take the call, I heard Margaret's excited voice. "They've accepted your offer. There was another bid, but your financing was stronger. Congratulations, Anastasia." A wave of exhilaration washed over me. I had done it, made a life-changing decision completely on my own terms. No family consultation, no seeking approval or permission. Just me taking control of my life in the most concrete way possible. "That's wonderful news." I managed to say, my mind already racing ahead to next steps. "The sellers are hoping for a quick closing with 30 days work for you." "Absolutely," I agreed. That evening I called Taylor and shared my news. She screamed with excitement. "A beach house, Anna, that's incredible. I can't believe you kept this secret all week." "I wasn't sure it would happen," I admitted. But it did. "I'm going to own a house, Taylor. My house. Not some future plan or distant goal. In 30 days. I am so proud of you. This is exactly what you needed, something that's completely yours that has nothing to do with your family or their approval." We talked for an hour about renovation plans, weekend trips, and how this purchase was the perfect response to years of being overlooked. "Are you going to tell your family?" Taylor asked eventually. I smiled, an idea forming. "Not yet. I think this news deserves a special announcement." The closing process moved more quickly than I'd anticipated. The seller's relocation created urgency on their side, and my strong financial position helped expedite the paperwork on mine. 3 weeks after my offer was accepted, I sat in a title company office, signing document after document, my hand cramping but spirit soaring. When the agent finally handed me the keys, I clutched them so tightly the metal bit into my palm. These weren't just keys to a house. They were keys to a new chapter of my life, one where I set the terms. "Congratulations, Ms. Thomas. The beach house is officially yours." I drove straight to Seabreeze Cove that afternoon, arriving just as the sun began its descent toward the water. Opening the front door as the legal owner felt surreal. I walked through each room slowly, already planning changes in my head. The carpet would go first, replaced with weathered wood flooring. The kitchen cabinets would be painted a soft coastal blue. The bathroom would get a complete overhaul with a clawfoot tub and shower with sea glass tiles. That first night, I slept on an air mattress in the main bedroom. The windows open to catch the sound of distant waves. The house was practically empty, but it felt more like home than anywhere I'd lived before. Saturday morning, I drove into town for breakfast at the local cafe, then visited the hardware store for basic supplies. The owner, a weathered man named Frank, spent 45 minutes giving me advice about local contractors and the quirks of maintaining a coastal property. You planning to live here full time, or is this a weekend place? He asked as he rang up my purchases. Weekends for now, but who knows, I might end up here permanently someday. Well, welcome to Seabreeze. We're a pretty friendly bunch out here. Over the next 2 weekends, I threw myself into making the beach house livable. I tore out the old carpet myself, revealing solid oak floors underneath that needed only refinishing. I painted the main living area and bedroom in soothing coastal tones. I deep cleaned every surface and installed new light fixtures. Each Friday after work, I'd drive the 3 hours to the coast, spend the weekend working on the house, and return to Seattle late Sunday evening. Exhausting, but deeply satisfying. The physical labor helped channel the emotional energy that had been building since my birthday. With my interior design connections, I secured discount furniture through trade accounts. A comfortable sectional sofa in natural linen, a reclaimed wood dining table, a king bed with the upholstered headboard in seafoam green. Piece by piece, the house transformed from an empty shell into a coastal retreat. My neighbors on either side stopped by to introduce themselves, a retired couple named the Harmons on one side, and a writer named Lucy on the other. Both welcomed me warmly and offered help with anything I needed. We do a beach bonfire potluck on the last Saturday of each month, Mrs. Harmon informed me. Very casual, just neighbors getting together. You should join us next time. The contrast between this immediate welcome and my family's lifelong indifference wasn't lost on me. These strangers had shown more interest in me in 10 minutes than my parents had in years. Meanwhile, back in Seattle, my family remained completely unaware of my major life change. The family group chat continued with planning for Jasmine's birthday, now only 2 weeks away. My mother had increased the guest count to 75. My father had secured a popular local band for entertainment. The projected cost was now well into 5 figures. Anastasia, we still haven't heard from you about contributing to Jasmine's spa weekend gift. My mother texted one evening. We need to book it soon to get the dates she wants. I left the message on read and continued unpacking boxes at my beach house. Taylor drove out to visit on my third weekend, bringing housewarming gifts and takeout from a famous seafood place near the harbor. This is absolutely stunning, she declared, taking in the view from the porch where we'd set up dinner. You've done so much already. It looks like it's been in a coastal living magazine. Still plenty to do, I said, but it's coming together. Taylor sipped her wine, studying me over the rim of her glass. You seem different. Happier. I am, I realized. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm living for myself instead of seeking approval I'll never get. Have you decided how you're going to tell your family? I nodded, pulling out my phone and showing her the album of photos I'd been carefully curating. Professional quality shots of the house interior, the view from the porch, the beach access path, all captured in perfect golden hour light. I'm posting these the day after Jasmine's birthday party, I explained, with one simple caption, birthday present to myself, family not invited. Taylor's eyes widened. That's direct. It's time for direct. I'm done being overlooked, Taylor. If they're going to forget my birthday and throw thousands at Jasmine's, they can see exactly what I've been doing while they weren't paying attention. They're going to freak out, I smiled. I'm counting on it. The following weekend, I put the finishing touches on the beach house, taking final photos for my planned social media reveal. The timing felt perfect. Jasmine's extravagant birthday celebration was scheduled for Saturday night. Sunday morning, while they were all recovering from the party, my post would drop like a bomb in their perfectly curated world. As expected, my phone buzzed repeatedly Saturday evening with photos from the party. Jasmine in a designer dress that probably cost more than a month of my mortgage payment. My parents beaming beside her, champagne in hand. Elaborate decorations and a custom multi-tier cake. The band performing on a small stage set up just for the occasion. I turned off notifications and went to bed early, setting an alarm for the morning. The reveal would be on my terms at my chosen time. Sunday morning dawned clear and bright at the beach house. I woke early, made coffee, and took it out to the porch swing I'd installed the previous weekend. The air was crisp with just enough autumn chill to make the hot coffee especially welcome. Today was the day. After weeks of preparation, I was ready to show my family exactly what their forgettable daughter had accomplished, and exactly what their neglect had cost them. Back inside, I opened my laptop and carefully selected the photos I'd taken. The exterior shot showing blue shingles against a sunset sky. The living room with its stone fireplace and comfortable seating, arranged to maximize the ocean view. The kitchen now with freshly painted cabinets and new hardware. The main bedroom with morning light streaming through French doors. The porch with its comfortable swing and Adirondack chairs. And finally, me standing on the beach path with the house visible in the background, looking more confident and content than I'd ever felt in my family home. I uploaded the photos to Instagram, then paused at the caption field. This needed to be perfect, clear enough to make my point, but not so emotional that it undermined the impact. After several drafts, I settled on exactly what I'd planned: birthday present to myself, family not invited. Simple, direct, unmistakable in its message. My finger hovered over the share button for only a moment before I pressed it decisively. There was no going back now. Within minutes, the likes and comments began flooding in from friends and colleagues. "This is gorgeous, Anna. When did this happen?" "OMG, you bought a beach house, girl. I need details." "This view is everything. Congratulations." "Best self-gift ever. So proud of you." I responded to a few messages from close friends, explaining this was a recent purchase and inviting them to visit soon. Taylor commented immediately with a string of applause emojis and, "You did it, so proud of you taking this step." Then came the notification I'd been waiting for. Jasmine had seen the post. Her direct message appeared seconds later. "What is this? You bought a house and didn't tell anyone. Is this some kind of joke?" I didn't respond. This wasn't about starting a conversation, it was about making a statement. My phone began ringing almost immediately after. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I sent it to voicemail. Then my father called. Voicemail again, then my mother a second time, then a third. The text messages started next. "Mom. Anastasia, call me immediately. What is this post about? When did you buy property without discussing it with the family?" "Dad. Just saw your post. Need to talk about this house purchase. Call when you get this." Jasmine. "Seriously, Anna. You're being super dramatic. What do you mean family not invited? And why are you trying to steal attention right after my birthday?" I set my phone on Do Not Disturb and returned to enjoying my coffee and the view. The initial rush of vindication was powerful but brief, giving way to a strange mixture of anxiety and peace. I'd never done anything like this before, never deliberately created conflict or stood my ground so publicly. Throughout the day, my posts continued gathering reactions. College friends, work colleagues, and acquaintances all expressed surprise and congratulations. Several of my mother's friends commented with confused but polite well wishes, clearly unsure what to make of the situation, but not wanting to appear out of the loop. Then Jasmine left a public comment. "Interesting way to announce this. Family would have loved to be included in such a major decision. Some of us share our important life events, rather than springing them on everyone for shock value." Taylor responded almost immediately. "Some people celebrate others' important life events instead of forgetting them year after year. Congrats again, Anna. You deserve every bit of this beautiful home and all the happiness it brings." By evening, I had 27 missed calls, over 40 text messages, and numerous voicemails from family members ranging from confused to angry. My extended family had gotten involved too, aunts and uncles messaging to ask if everything was okay, cousins wanting details on the house, my grandmother asking if I'd had some kind of break with reality. Walking along the beach at sunset, I felt the weight of what I'd done settle on me. This wasn't just about a social media post or even about a house. It was about finally acknowledging the hurt I'd carried for decades and refusing to pretend it didn't exist. It was about valuing myself when my family had failed to do so. As the sun disappeared beneath the horizon, I made a decision. I would return to Seattle in the morning as planned and face whatever came next. I'd been the accommodating, understanding daughter my entire life. Now it was my family's turn to accommodate and understand me or not. Either way, I had my sanctuary now. A place that was mine alone, where I was the priority, not an afterthought. I turned off my phone completely and spent the evening in peaceful solitude, preparing for the confrontation I knew was coming. Monday morning, I drove back to Seattle earlier than usual, arriving at my apartment just after 8. I turned my phone back on during the drive, watching notifications pile up, but not responding to any of them. The last message sent just 30 minutes earlier was from my mother. "We're coming to your apartment this morning. This conversation can't wait any longer." I had barely finished my first cup of coffee when the buzzer sounded. Through the intercom, I heard my father's voice. "Anastasia, it's Dad and Mom. We need to talk." I buzzed them in and steeled myself. Through the peephole, I watched them approach my door. My father looking uncomfortable in his casual weekend clothes. My mother with the tight expression she wore when something had disrupted her plans. I opened the door before they could knock. "Good morning." They entered silently, taking in my small but stylish apartment, as though seeing it for the first time. In truth, they'd only visited twice in the 3 years I'd lived here. "Anastasia," my mother began without preamble. "What is going on? You buy a house without telling anyone, then post that passive-aggressive message for everyone to see." "I purchased a property, yes," I replied calmly. "As a financially independent adult, that's my right." My father stepped forward. "No one's questioning your right to buy property, Anastasia. It's the way you announced it. Family not invited." "What does that even mean?" "I think it's quite clear," I said, moving to sit on my sofa. "The beach house is my space, mine alone." My mother remained standing, arms crossed. "This is completely out of character for you. You've always been the sensible one, the one we never had to worry about. And now this attention-seeking behavior, the familiar characterization sensible, no trouble, forgettable, sparked something in me." "Let's go inside," I suggested, gesturing toward my living room. "This isn't a conversation for the hallway." Once inside my apartment with the door closed behind us, the confrontation continued. "We don't understand where this is coming from," my father said, sitting awkwardly on the edge of my armchair. "If you wanted a vacation property, we could have discussed it as a family. Like we discussed Jasmine's birthday celebrations. Or my birthdays, which none of you have remembered for 5 straight years." There it was out in the open finally. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother recovered first. "That's what this is about, birthdays, Anastasia. You're 28 years old, not 8. It's not about the birthday itself," I explained, struggling to keep my voice steady. "It's about what it represents. It's about the fact that Jasmine gets multiple $1,000 parties and gifts, while I don't even get a text message. It's about the fact that Dad Venmoed Jasmine $2,000 for pre-birthday shopping on my actual birthday this year." My father had the grace to look embarrassed. "We didn't realize." "That's the problem. You didn't realize. You don't realize anything about me because you don't pay attention. I've achieved every milestone a parent should be proud of: scholarships, Dean's List, career advancement, and received a fraction of the recognition Jasmine gets for simply existing." My mother's expression hardened. "That's unfair. We've always supported your education and career." "Support isn't just financial, Mom. It's emotional. It's remembering important dates. It's showing interest in my life beyond how it impacts yours." The apartment door buzzed again. My mother looked at her phone. "That's Jasmine. I told her to join us." Without waiting for my response, she buzzed my sister in. Minutes later, Jasmine burst through the door, still wearing last night's makeup and looking significantly hungover. "What the actual hell, Anna?" she demanded, waving her phone with my Instagram post displayed. "You couldn't wait until my birthday celebration was over before pulling this stunt." "Your birthday celebration was over," I pointed out. "And your birthday was 2 weeks ago. Mine, however, was completely ignored." Again. Jasmine rolled her eyes dramatically. "So buy yourself a cake like a normal person. Don't purchase real estate just to make some weird point." "I didn't buy the house to make a point," I clarified. "I bought it because I wanted it and could afford it. The point was made in how I announced it." "Well, your point is causing problems for everyone," Jasmine complained, flopping onto my sofa. "Grandma keeps calling asking if there's some family feud she doesn't know about. Mom's friends are all gossiping. Dad's golf buddies were texting him during my party." "I'm sorry my independence is inconveniencing everyone," I said, not feeling sorry at all. My father raised his hands in a calming gesture. "Let's take a step back. Anastasia, if you felt overlooked on your birthday, you should have said something." "I have, multiple times. Last year I literally said, 'It's my birthday today,' in the family chat, and got one thumbs up emoji from Dad and nothing from anyone else. Meanwhile, Jasmine's birthday warrants months of planning and a budget that could fund a small wedding." "That's different," my mother insisted. Jasmine's always loved big celebrations. You've always been more reserved. Reserved doesn't mean invisible, I countered. And my reservation doesn't justify complete neglect. You're being so dramatic, Jasmine interjected. It's just a birthday. Then why does yours merit a live band and catering? Because I appreciate it. You just complain about the expense or environmental impact of party decorations or whatever boring thing you're concerned with this week. The casual dismissal of my interests, the characterization of me as boring, it was everything I'd endured for years crystallized in one moment. This is exactly why I bought the beach house, I said quietly. Because in this family, I don't matter. My feelings don't count. My achievements aren't celebrated. I'm the afterthought, the obligation, the one who's expected to contribute to Jasmine's gifts while receiving nothing myself. My mother's face flushed. That's not true. We've always treated you both equally. Mom, my father said softly, that's not entirely accurate. All three of us turned to look at him in surprise. What do you mean, Harold? My mother demanded. My father sighed, looking older suddenly. Anastasia has a point. We do make a bigger deal of Jasmine's birthdays. We do expect different things from each of them. Anastasia's always been so capable, so independent that I suppose we take her for granted sometimes. Thank you for acknowledging that, I said, genuinely surprised by his insight. But, he continued, this public shaming isn't the way to address family issues, Anastasia. Family not invited. That's hurtful and unnecessary. As hurtful as being forgotten, as unnecessary as planning Jasmine's extravaganza on my birthday without even mentioning it. No one had an answer for that. The beach house is mine, I said firmly. Purchased with my savings in my name alone. It's my sanctuary, away from all of this, the constant comparisons, the double standards, the feeling that I'm somehow less important. And yes, for now, family isn't invited. I need space that's just mine, where I'm not an afterthought. So you're cutting us off completely, my mother asked, her voice rising. Over birthday parties. I'm setting boundaries, I corrected. Something I should have done years ago. I'm not cutting anyone off. I'm simply establishing what I will and won't accept going forward. The confrontation continued for another hour, cycling through accusations, defenses, and occasional moments of genuine reflection. Jasmine oscillated between anger and performative hurt. My mother remained largely defensive. My father surprisingly seemed to be listening more than speaking. By the time they left, nothing was truly resolved. My mother departed with a stiff, "We'll talk more when you're being reasonable." Jasmine followed with a dramatic door slam. My father lingered briefly. I didn't realize we'd hurt you so deeply, he said quietly. That was never our intention. I know, I replied. But impact matters more than intention, Dad. He nodded slowly. Your beach house looks beautiful, by the way. You've always had an eye for design. It wasn't an apology, but it was something, an acknowledgement at least. After they left, I sat in my silent apartment, emotionally drained, but somehow lighter. For the first time in my life, I'd stood my ground instead of accommodating everyone else's feelings at the expense of my own. It hadn't gone perfectly, but it had been necessary. I texted Taylor. Hurricane family just left. I survived. Barely. Her response came immediately. Proud of you. Want me to come over with wine and takeout? I smiled at my phone. Yes, please. Thai food and whatever wine pairs with I just confronted my family and may never recover. On my way, and for the record that pairs with Merlot. The aftermath of the confrontation rippled through work and beyond. My colleagues noticed my distraction but were too professional to pry. Diana, however, stopped by my desk Wednesday afternoon. Everything okay, Anastasia? You seem a bit off this week. I appreciated her directness. Family drama. I finally stood up for myself after years of being overlooked, and it's causing some adjustments. She nodded understandingly. Those boundaries are the hardest to set. Need any time off? The Burton project is under control and you've more than earned some personal days. Actually, I might take this Friday. I bought a beach house recently and I could use a long weekend there. Diana's eyebrows shot up. A beach house. That's fantastic. We're Seabreeze Cove, about 3 hours from here. It's small but perfect for weekends. Well done, you, she said with genuine warmth. Send me photos sometime, and take Friday, consider it approved. That Friday afternoon, I drove to the coast with a lighter heart. Each trip to the beach house felt like an escape, but also like coming home to my authentic self. The familiar route now held landmarks I recognized: the farm stand with the best apples, the quirky roadside sculpture, the first glimpse of water in the distance. Arriving as the sun began to set, I unpacked groceries and opened windows to let in the salt air. A small envelope had been slipped under my door, an invitation to the monthly beach bonfire from Mrs. Harmon. The neighborly gesture warmed me after the coldness of my family's reaction. Saturday morning, I walked along the beach collecting interesting shells and driftwood pieces. The simple activity felt meditative healing. Midway through my walk, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Expecting Taylor, I was surprised to see an unfamiliar envelope icon, actual mail, not a text or call. Back at the house, I found a plain white greeting card in my mailbox. Inside, in my father's distinctive handwriting, "Anastasia, I've been thinking about our conversation. You're right that we've treated you and your sister differently, and that we've often overlooked your birthday while celebrating Jasmine's extravagantly. I can't speak for your mother or sister, but I want to acknowledge that I've failed you in this regard, and I'm truly sorry. Happy belated birthday, Dad." It wasn't much, but from my father, a man who rarely expressed emotions directly, it represented significant effort. No gift card, no check, just an acknowledgement of wrongdoing and an apology. In many ways, it was more valuable than any material gift. That evening, I attended the neighborhood bonfire. The Harmons introduced me around, and Lucy from next door insisted I try her famous clam dip. Frank from the hardware store was there with his wife, along with a dozen other Seabreeze Cove residents. They welcomed me without question, curious about my design work and renovation plans, but never prying about my personal life. "We're glad to have some young blood in the community," Mrs. Harmon declared, passing me a bowl of her homemade chowder. "Most of the houses around here only come alive on summer weekends. It's nice to see yours with lights on year-round." "I'm only here weekends for now," I clarified. "For now," she repeated with a knowing smile. "Just you wait. The sea gets in your blood." Sunday evening, as I packed to return to Seattle, I checked social media for the first time all weekend. Jasmine had posted multiple photos from yet another night out, tagged with #living my best life and #birthday month continues. My mother had shared an article about entitlement in young adults that seemed suspiciously pointed, but there was also a direct message from my father sent that morning. "Your card probably arrived this weekend. I meant what I wrote. When you're ready, I'd like to visit your beach house, just me. On your terms." It was the first time in memory that my father had suggested spending time together without my mother or Jasmine present. I considered it carefully before responding, "Thank you for the card. I appreciate the acknowledgement. I'm still processing everything, but when I'm ready for visitors, you'll be the first to know." The following weeks established a new pattern. Weekdays in Seattle focused on work weekends at the beach house, working on renovations, and becoming part of the community. My mother's communications remained cool and infrequent. Jasmine oscillated between ignoring me completely and sending passive-aggressive messages about family loyalty. My father surprisingly maintained consistent contact. Nothing intrusive, just occasional texts about neutral topics. A book he'd read that he thought I might enjoy, a question about good restaurants near my office. A photo of the garden project he'd started. 6 weeks after the confrontation, I received another text from him. "Would next Saturday work for that visit we discussed? No pressure if you're not ready." After careful consideration, I agreed. "Saturday morning, I'll text you the address and directions." That Saturday, I waited nervously on the porch as my father's car pulled into the driveway. He emerged looking uncharacteristically casual in jeans and a sweater, rather than his usual golf attire or business clothes. "The drive wasn't bad at all," he commented, glancing around appreciatively. "Beautiful location you found." I gave him a tour of the house, explaining the renovations I'd completed, and those still planned. He asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely interested in the design choices. On the porch afterward, overlooking the water, he finally addressed the elephant in the room. "Your mother is still upset," he said quietly. "She feels this whole situation has been blown out of proportion." "And what do you think?" I asked. He sighed, his hands wrapped around a mug of coffee I'd provided. I missed a lot over the years. It was easier to focus on Jasmine because she demanded attention. You never did, so I assumed you didn't need it. He paused. That was wrong of me. It was, I agreed. But I appreciate you acknowledging it. Jasmine's always been like your mother, needing external validation, celebration, constant reinforcement. You've been more like me, self-sufficient, internal, private. The difference is that I recognized myself in you, but still failed to give you what you needed. It was the most insightful thing my father had ever said to me, and certainly the most he'd ever shared about his own nature. I can't change the past, he continued, but I'd like to do better going forward, if you'll let me. I'd like that, I said honestly. We spent the rest of the day in comfortable conversation, walking on the beach, having lunch at the local cafe. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like my father was seeing me not as an extension of the family, not in comparison to Jasmine, but as my own person with my own life and choices. When he left that evening, he hugged me awkwardly but sincerely. Thank you for letting me visit. This place suits you. I'm proud of what you've built here, both the house and the life. In the months that followed, a new family dynamic slowly emerged. My relationship with my father strengthened through regular one-on-one visits and conversations. My mother eventually thawed slightly, though she never fully acknowledged her role in the situation. She did, however, mark my next birthday on her calendar and sent an actual gift, a set of beach-themed serving dishes that showed she'd at least registered my new weekend lifestyle. Jasmine remained the most resistant to change. Her initial anger gave way to performative victimhood, then to grudging acceptance that our relationship had fundamentally shifted. 6 months after our confrontation, she texted me, "Lucy from your office showed me pictures of your beach house. It actually looks really nice. Maybe someday I could see it in person." It wasn't an apology, but it was a step toward recognition. I responded simply, "Maybe someday. We'll see." As my 29th birthday approached, I made plans to spend the entire week at the beach house. Taylor and 3 other close friends arranged to join me for the weekend celebration. For the first time in years, I looked forward to my birthday without dread or disappointment. The morning of my birthday, I woke to sunrise over the water. My phone already showed messages from friends, colleagues, and notably my father and mother. Jasmine's came later that afternoon, clearly prompted by our parents, but sent nevertheless. That evening, surrounded by friends on my porch, watching the sunset with wine glasses in hand, I reflected on the year since my last birthday. The hurt and disappointment that had driven me to buy this house had transformed into something unexpected, genuine contentment with my life exactly as it was. Toast, Taylor declared, raising her glass. To Anastasia, who taught us all that sometimes the best family is the one you choose, the best gift is the one you give yourself, and the best revenge is living well in a house with an amazing view. Everyone laughed and clinked glasses. As conversation flowed around me, I gazed out at the darkening water. The journey hadn't been easy, and some relationships would never fully heal. My mother would always favor Jasmine. Some family dynamics were too entrenched to completely change. But I had found my voice, my boundaries, and my peace. The beach house represented more than property ownership. It was tangible proof that I valued myself enough to create the life I wanted, whether or not others affirmed my worth. As Taylor had said, sometimes the best gift is the one you give yourself. And sometimes the family that truly sees you isn't the one you're born into, but the one you build along the way. Sometimes you have to build your own sanctuary, when the place that should have been home never felt like one. I'm not just celebrating my birthday now, I'm celebrating my freedom. Have you ever had to create boundaries with family who consistently overlooked you? Comment below with your experience. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more about navigating difficult family dynamics and finding your own path to happiness. Remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you courage in creating yours.